I used to think it was like gambling at a casino. But, you know, life is unpredictable. It's free money, free money. If you walk past a fiver on the street, you would not leave it there and think, oh well, just let it blow away. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So today I just thought I'd sit down with the camera and talk about a couple of things that I think would have been helpful for me to know at a much younger age. The kind of things that if I had a younger sibling, I would tell them. Basically just money lessons that I think are really important. I just don't think it's talked about enough, or a lot of people maybe don't find it a very exciting conversation, so just kind of ignore the question or change conversation quickly. So anyway, I hope you find it useful. If you have been liking the sort of like money chat videos I've been doing, I would love it if you could give it a big like. That way I know what content to make and what you're going to enjoy watching. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was credit cards. And so I remember being, I think it was like 18, and I got quite a few letters in the post from companies being like, sign up to a credit card. And I remember at the time thinking like, what's a credit card? Like, what would I need one of those for? And then you just hear loads of people being like, oh, they're really bad, you can get in loads of debt. But I think if we're taught important money lessons from a young age, then we would have a lot more awareness about what is really bad and what's good. But credit cards are great for building your credit score. If used correctly, they're not such a bad thing. They actually give you really good protection if you're booking a holiday. So if anything was to happen, you could claim through your credit card. Any large purchases I tend to make on my credit card, but knowing that I have got the money there to pay it off pretty much straight away. So you want to always pay your credit card off in full. Credit card interest is really high. So if you have got a credit card with a balance on and you're only repaying the minimum repayments every month, the credit card is likely to have a very high interest rate that you're being charged. So often you might buy something for a certain price, but if you keep it on your credit card for months and you're not really paying anything off it, then you're going to be paying a lot more than what that product was actually worth in the first place because of how much interest you're being charged. So the main things to remember are to pay it off in full each month. Don't buy anything with it that you can't actually afford. So if you haven't got the physical money in your account, or you know you can pay it off like when you get paid, then don't use it. It's also great for emergencies. So if you are traveling or something happens to your debit card and you can't use it, if you've got a credit card as a backup, it can come in very handy. But yes, for some people it is really easy to get into debt, and if you haven't got very good willpower, or if you're young and you just see it as like a couple of £1,000s to sort of, you know, buy what you want with, you've still got to pay it back. But if you're quite young and you're looking to try and build up your credit history, maybe you want to apply for a mortgage in a couple of years, you might want to apply for a loan, it's really important to have a really good credit score. And a really easy way to build that up is, for one, like having a phone direct debit in your name, and two, you could get a credit card and you could just buy something for £5 on the card and then just pay it off straight away. But if you are using your credit card to buy things and then just transferring to pay it off straight away, you're still building a good credit score. And number two is to learn to budget early. So I think from talking to people, some people are just naturally used to budgeting and have done since being young, and other people really struggle with managing the money, and that can come from lots of different factors in life. But if from a young age you can start saving a bit of money, I just find budgeting super helpful. But sometimes it can seem like this boring word that means that you're not really enjoying life, but I think that's completely the opposite. Budgeting just helps me achieve the bigger goals that I want in life quicker. So rather than going out Friday, Saturday, Sunday and, you know, spending a couple of £100 eating and drinking out, I know in my head that that money is going to get me closer to going to America or wherever it is I want to go on holiday, if I want to pay off like a loan faster, when I needed to save for a deposit for the house. So you may have heard a lot about the 50-30-20 rule, which is 50% of your money should be for your household bills and like things that you have to pay for. 30% is non-essentials, so anything like a gym membership, subscriptions that you have, anything that's like a little extra luxury, Sky maybe. And then the 20% should be the savings. So there's some really great trackers out there for this. I know if anybody watches Nisha on YouTube, she's recently made a tracker for this on an Excel spreadsheet, and I think it's free to download. You could go and check that out. It's just a really easy way of breaking down your money and knowing that you're not spending above your means, and that like your main household bills and your mortgage or your rent isn't taking up like 80% of your take-home pay. I'm just leaning forward a little bit because the sun's shining super brightly today. And lesson number three is, if you've ever missed any payments on like loans, maybe something you've took out on like a long repayment basis like you can on Klarna, any direct debits that have gone unpaid, everything like that has an impact on your credit score, and it can also have quite a big impact on if you want to take out like any loans or mortgages in the future. Again, it goes against like your credit score, and they can stay on your credit file for like 7 years. So even just missing like one mobile phone payment can affect you for quite a long time. So this is something, you know, I didn't know until like my early 20s. It's just not talked about enough. So I just think it's really important to educate yourself as much as possible, because we don't get taught it in schools. You might get taught a bit or a lot from your parents, but I feel like it'd be really helpful to be like a common topic of conversation in your house, just so that all these terms are a lot more familiar for you, like when growing up. The sun is so bright today. But yeah, I guess with this one, don't bite off more than you can chew, as in don't buy loads of things that you can't afford on like a long-term repayment basis through Klarna, or, you know, buy now, pay later. It's just much easier to track and manage your money if you pay for it straight away. It does help with some things, but I think it's really easy to think that you can have more than what you can actually afford, and you might just start upgrading things that you don't really need to. And budgeting will help with not missing payments, because if you're budgeting well, then you will know that you've got enough money to pay off what you need to each month. And number 4 is to open a LISA. So before we bought the house a couple of years ago, it was all like helped by ISAs, but I don't think they do those anymore. It's now a LISA, which is a lifetime ISA, and this can help with either buying a house or retirement. So if you've already got a house, you can pay into one for retirement, but you can't access the money until you retire, or I think it's a certain age. And if you're looking at buying a house, you save so much a month into the savings account, and then the government put so much towards it. So I think it's like a maximum of £3,000. That's what the helped by ISAs were. So you don't actually see the physical money, but when you come to buy the house, the money kind of gets sent through to the solicitor or wherever, and it deducted off the total. So it's a brilliant way. I feel like it's one of the main things that they have in place to help with buying your first house. And if you're both first time buyers, you and your partner can both have them. So it's like a total of £6,000 towards your first house. There is quite a few exclusions with that, but I haven't looked at it for a while. But it is definitely worth it if you are 18 or over and looking to buy your first house. And lesson number 5 is to start investing early. So investing is something I've read up and learnt more about over the past couple of years, just through my own interest. But I had no idea about investing, really. I would say, like, from being 24 and under, nobody around me talked about investing. Yeah, it just really wasn't a thing that I'd like really heard of or came up in conversation. I guess if your parents are big investors in the stock market or invest in anything for that matter, you're maybe going to hear about it a bit more, but it's something we're certainly not taught about in schools. Yeah, I just find it really interesting, and I think when I did first hear about it, all I used to see was, you know, like, oh, it's high risk. Obviously they've got to say that, like, there's a big risk that you could lose all of your money, there's a big risk that you could lose everything you've put in, and that used to scare the life out of me. I was thinking, well, I'm not doing that then. Like, I used to think it was like gambling at a casino, like literally just like pot luck if you won or you lost, and that might be the case for certain investments. But if you're just investing in like index funds or globally diversified portfolios, you know, they're a lot more like low to medium risk, and you've got a long time to keep your money in there, then it can be really profitable. Obviously there's never any guarantees, but there isn't with anything in life. You do really need to be in it for like 5 to 10 years. Of course you can buy bonds, stocks, shares for individual companies, and they can go up and down and be very volatile, but there is lots of other things you can invest in that come at a lot less risk and have like a really good track record of making people money. But obviously the more money you have, the more you make. But I think for me, the whole process of like opening a stocks and shares ISA with a company that did it was like the biggest thing. And I used to kind of think, if they're not on the high street, like, can you trust the online thing? Like, I don't really know anything about the company, but of course you're not, because you've never had any dealings with them or anything to do with that. So, you know, now a lot of the high street banks do it. I know NatWest and RBS, you see them all the time, like, you can invest in their portfolios and things, so it's a lot more accessible now. I know Monzo, I recently got some messages about. I opened my stocks and shares ISA with Vanguard, and I think if you can just start paying into it every month, because they say that it's better to pay in regular rather than like one lump sum, if you can just get used to that process, learn a bit more about a stocks and shares ISA, you don't even really need to look at it very often. It's more of like a long-term thing, so you can just put £20 in every month and then check it back in a year's time and see how much you've made. I think the scary thing can be that you invest money and then you log on and look at it, and then it's like dropped 10% or whatever, and you know, your money's gone down massively, and then it's scary, and then people think, oh my god, I'm going to take money out now, and then they've already lost some money. But if you can keep your money in and ride out the bumps and waves, you know, then past performances show it has a very good rate of return. If you have enough money invested in the right thing, you know, you can make a lot of money. People are making salaries just from money invested, literally, like, just sat there, they don't have to do anything. Yeah, I think it's just an important lesson to learn learn about. I just find it really interesting. There's some great books out there on it. There's YouTube videos, articles, whichever way you prefer to learn. But I do understand that if you don't have like a natural interest in it, then you're just not going to be bothered to learn, and it's going to be really boring to educate yourself on it. So if you've got any friends or family or anyone you know that is interested in it, maybe if you've got any questions, you could just ask them and they'll be able to break it down easily for you. And number 6 that I tell little Chloe is to get yourself an emergency fund. Learn about emergency funds and what they are, because they will help you sleep at night. They will take a lot of worry and stress away. You'll feel a lot more comfortable in day-to-day life. There's lots of benefits to having an emergency fund, and it can be hard to see money just sat there and you think, oh, I'd quite like to go to Ibiza. But you've got to remember the money is for emergencies only. So, you know, if you need a new roof, you know, maybe an appliance broke in your home and that's the only money you've got to cover it. But if you can keep it in an instant access savings account that's preferably paying a decent rate of interest, but maybe an account that you don't see all the time, so maybe have it with a different bank to where you do your day-to-day banking, so that it's not on the same app and you've got to go into a different app to see it. Or give it to a family member if you trust them completely to look after it for you. You know, life is unpredictable. Things can happen when we least expect it, but if you have got a bit of a comfort blanket under you, i.e. the emergency fund, it just takes that stress and pressure away from a lot of things. So start off small, see if you can save £200, put it somewhere where you don't see it, you don't use it, build it up. It's £500, £1,000, and just keep adding to it as and when you can. And when that thing happens in your life that you need some money for quickly, it's an emergency, you've got it. You've not got to think, oh, I need to ask somebody to borrow money, I need to take a loan out, I need some quick money that's going to charge me super high interest and it's going to take years to pay it off, and then just causing years of more stress and worry. No. You'll feel like a boss because you'll already have it there to cover yourself. And the last thing I just wanted to touch on was to save in a savings account. So I know that sounds really simple, but quite a few people I know will get paid into the current account, the bills come out of that account, and they just leave money in there to build up as well as like their savings. But in current accounts, generally you don't earn any interest. So the minimum you can do for yourself if you're saving money or you've got some savings is put it in a savings account and find the best account that pays the most interest, especially at the moment. I mean, like quite a few of them are about 4%, 4.5%, which is great because like obviously when it was COVID, savings were rubbish, but now they have come up quite a bit, so you can get, you know, quite a bit of extra money for your savings. Obviously it depends how much you've got, but even if you're getting £5 a month, it's free money. Free money. If you walk past a fiver on the street, you would not leave it there and think, oh well, just let it blow away. No, you'd pick it up, you know, if there was no one around or it didn't look obvious whose it was. You can't leave free money in this world, so put your money in a savings account. You'll watch it coming in every month. It becomes a bit of a game, and then the more you save, the more interest you get. So those would be the lessons I would tell my younger self, and also just remind myself of, because sometimes we know things but it's easy to forget. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this little chat with me about money. Let me know if there's any other money related videos you'd like to see. I feel like I ramble a lot when I do these videos because I get quite passionate about it. But yeah, if you have been enjoying the videos, my analytics show that quite a lot of people are not subscribed that do watch the videos, so please subscribe, and I'll see you on Monday for another video. Thanks guys, bye!